Incheon, South Korea. 2017. A horrific crime shook the entire nation. A 17-year-old girl, manipulated and encouraged by another teenage girl, lured an 8-year-old child into her home. What followed was an act of unspeakable brutality. She strangled the little girl, dismembered her body, and dumped the remains into a water tank. But the horror didn't end there. In a chilling act of cruelty, the perpetrator cut off the victim's finger and gave it to her accomplice as a gift. When questioned by police, the killer showed no remorse. With cold detachment, she simply said, "We were just playing a game." Yet the most shocking part? Both suspects came from powerful, well-connected families. And when justice should have been served, it never truly was. On the afternoon of March 29, 2017, in Yonsa District, Incheon, South Korea, a mother was gripped by panic. Her 8-year-old daughter, Seo-mi, was missing. Seo-mi should have come home for lunch after school as usual. But this time, she never appeared. The longer the mother waited, the more uneasy she grew. She immediately went out to search the park near the school, checking every possible corner, but there was no sign of her daughter. Praying for Seo-mi's safety, she rushed back home and called the homeroom teacher. All the children, including Seo-mi, left school long ago, the teacher told her. The mother's heart turned to ice. Though panic began to set in, she clung to a sliver of hope. Maybe Seo-mi had gone to a friend's house. She called the parents of Seo-mi's classmates one by one, but no one had seen her. As hope slipped away, the desperate mother finally called the police. Officers arrived quickly at her home to investigate. Given that Seo-mi was only 8 years old, they concluded she was unlikely to have run away. This was probably an abduction. Police installed wiretapping devices in Seo-mi's home in case kidnappers called demanding ransom. But the phone remained silent all afternoon. Meanwhile, neighbors who heard the news gathered spontaneously to search the streets. The search area expanded, but there was still no trace of Seo-mi. Some wondered, had Seo-mi been hit by a car after school, and the driver taken her body to avoid responsibility? Police immediately reviewed surveillance footage from roads near the school, but this possibility was soon ruled out. No traffic accidents had occurred that day. With kidnapping and accident scenarios eliminated, police turned to interviewing children who knew Seo-mi. Then, while questioning a little girl who had played with Seo-mi that day, they found a crucial lead. The girl told them, "After school, Seo-mi and I went to the park to play. At one point, Seo-mi suddenly said she needed to call her mom, so she started looking for someone to borrow a phone from." Just then, a woman wearing sunglasses and pulling a suitcase approached. She crouched down, spoke a few words to Seo-mi, and Seo-mi walked away with her. The girl thought Seo-mi would return soon, but after waiting a long time with no sign of her, she went home angry. This testimony gave police new hope. Though the girl couldn't remember the woman's face clearly, she provided key details. The woman appeared to be around her mother's age, wore sunglasses, and carried a suitcase. From this, police deduced the suspect likely lived nearby and had taken Seo-mi on foot. Following these clues, officers immediately pulled nearby surveillance footage and launched an intensive search. Finally, in the water tank on the rooftop of an apartment building, they found Seo-mi's body. She had not only been killed, her body had been dismembered. It was only through the torn clothing left in the plastic bag holding her remains that police confirmed this was the Seo-mi everyone had been searching for. And in that moment, the horrifying truth of what she had endured became clear. The forensic team pieced together Seo-mi's remains and made a grim discovery. One of her fingers was missing. The ligature marks on her neck pointed to mechanical asphyxiation as the cause of death. She had been strangled. The time of death was estimated to be between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. on March 29th, the exact window when Seo-mi had left the park with a sunglasses-wearing woman. This made the woman the prime suspect. Another odd detail emerged. There was no blood in the water tank where Seo-mi's body was found. This meant the tank wasn't the crime scene. The killer had murdered Seo-mi elsewhere, dismembered her, and then transported the remains. Given the suspect's slight build, police theorized that if she was indeed the killer, the murder had to have taken place near the water tank. In other words, the killer lived close by. Police immediately pulled surveillance footage from the apartment building where the tank was located. The footage confirmed their suspicions. They spotted Seo-mi and the woman entering the elevator together. The pair exited on the 13th floor and vanished from view. Officers rushed to the 13th floor, conducting a thorough search of every unit. But the woman was nowhere to be found. How could she have disappeared after being seen exiting on the 13th floor? Puzzled but determined, police expanded their search to the entire building. Then, on the 15th floor, they struck evidence. A pair of sunglasses and a suitcase matching the witness's description. The bathroom reeked of blood, suggesting it had been used to dismember Seo-mi's body. All signs pointed to the female resident of this unit as the killer. When she returned home half an hour later, police were waiting. They took her into custody. But during interrogation, the woman vehemently denied any involvement. She claimed she had been at work all day and had only just returned. She had no idea why her apartment contained bloodstains or the suspect's belongings. Police verified her alibi at the hospital where she worked. Colleagues confirmed she had been on duty during Seo-mi's disappearance. She couldn't have committed the crime. With no concrete evidence, they had no choice but to release her. Yet investigators remained convinced she was connected to the killer. How else could the sunglasses, suitcase, and blood have ended up in her home? They returned to collect blood samples from her bathroom for DNA testing. But as they were leaving, a neighbor's offhand remark changed everything. "Another woman lives with her," the neighbor said. "And she always wears sunglasses when she goes out." Police quickly set up surveillance near the apartment. Hours later, their patience paid off. A young woman in sunglasses, pulling a suitcase, appeared. Officers moved in and arrested her. But the moment they saw her face, shock rippled through the team. Because the suspect standing before them was just a girl. The killer who murdered and dismembered Seo-mi was Kim Ji-yeon, aged 17, the daughter of the 15th floor resident. Meanwhile, DNA results confirmed the blood samples matched the victim. In the interrogation room, investigators showed Ji-yeon Seo-mi's photograph. "Do you know this girl?" Ji-yeon glanced at the photo indifferently. "No." When she remained silent, detectives presented irrefutable evidence. Watching the damning proof unfold before her, Ji-yeon's composure visibly cracked. After an internal struggle, she finally confessed to Seo-mi's murder and detailed the entire crime. Shockingly, Ji-yeon claimed killing Seo-mi wasn't a big deal, just a game. On March 29th, the high school dropout had been napping when children's laughter from the park below woke her. Furious, she stared coldly at the playing children before complaining to an online friend. This friend originated from a violent role-playing game Ji-yeon had recently joined. Unlike normal gaming communities, this group discussed graphic, disturbing content. Though initially repulsed, Ji-yeon gradually became desensitized. The day before the murder, the game assigned an extreme mission: harvest a child's organ for a friend. After failing all night to complete it, Ji-yeon was sleeping when the children's noise disturbed her. Her online friend proposed a solution: kill the noisy children and dismember them. Ji-yeon, as if brainwashed, immediately planned the murder. After researching child abduction methods online, she disguised herself as a middle-aged woman using sunglasses and her mother's clothes. Carrying a suitcase, she scouted the park for targets until hearing Seo-mi say, "I want to call my mom but I'm scared to ask for a phone." Approaching Seo-mi, Ji-yeon offered help, then lured her home by claiming her phone needed charging. Though hesitant, Seo-mi eventually agreed, worried about her mother. During the walk home, Ji-yeon maintained friendly chatter, even in the elevator. Exiting on the 13th floor to mislead investigators, she led Seo-mi via fire escape to the 15th floor apartment. Inside, Ji-yeon distracted Seo-mi with a cat while messaging her accomplice, "I got one." Then, smiling, she strangled the oblivious child with a charging cable. After confirming death, Ji-yeon calmly carried the body to the bathroom for dismemberment. Remembering her friend's request, she preserved one finger in a jar before disposing the remains in the building's water tank. She then changed clothes and delivered the finger to her mysterious friend before returning home as if nothing happened. Police were horrified. A 17-year-old treating murder as a game, obedient to an online puppeteer. When questioned about this accomplice, Ji-yeon clammed up. Investigators would soon discover this friend's shocking true identity. Through examining Kim Ji-yeon's phone, police identified the online accomplice, Park Ji-hyun, a female resident of Seoul. Their chat logs revealed the two had met in person over a month prior, quickly entering a romantic relationship. Shockingly, Park had systematically groomed Ji-hyun into committing murder. After killing Seo-mi, a panicked Ji-hyun had nearly collapsed psychologically, but Park's coaching helped her suppress the fear and complete the dismemberment. As Incheon police prepared to arrest Park in Seoul, they hit a snag. Her online profile contained scant location details. Before they could request Seoul PD's assistance, an urgent report came from the capital. A sanitation worker had discovered a human finger in a residential trash bin. Seoul police traced the evidence to an upscale apartment complex where Park resided. Initially, like Ji-hyun, Park played dumb about the finger, until Incheon police shared their evidence linking it to Seo-mi's murder. Confronted with irrefutable proof, Park confessed. Both killers were charged and brought to trial. Just when the case seemed resolved, an unexpected twist emerged. Ji-hyun and Park came from powerful families. Ji-hyun's legal team comprised 12 attorneys, sparking speculation about chaebol connections. Park's background proved even more enigmatic. Korean media, typically adept at uncovering elite secrets, found nothing. During detention, Ji-hyun boasted to fellow inmates, "No one here has worse charges than me. But even if convicted, I won't serve long." On June 15th, the Incheon District Court held its first hearing. Ji-hyun's lawyers admitted her crimes but denied premeditation, presenting an Asperger syndrome diagnosis to argue the killing occurred during an uncontrollable episode. After reviewing the medical report, prosecutors acknowledged Ji-hyun might have mental health conditions. However, they argued her meticulous crime planning, observing Seo-mi carefully, exiting the elevator early to mislead investigators, demonstrated clear, logical thinking. In court, Ji-hyun appeared fully conscious, calmly answering judges' questions with crisp clarity, showing no signs of impairment. Prosecutors concluded she wasn't experiencing a psychiatric episode during the crime and accused her lawyers of exploiting mental health claims for leniency. The judge delivered the first trial's verdict. As a 17-year-old minor, Ji-hyun couldn't receive life imprisonment or the death penalty under South Korea's Juvenile Act. She was sentenced to 20 years for intentional homicide and child abduction. Park Ji-hyun, as an adult accomplice, received life imprisonment. Both defendants, leveraging their privileged backgrounds, immediately appealed. During the second trial, Ji-hyun submitted additional psychiatric certificates, claiming she'd suffered from untreated depression since elementary school. On September 13, 2018, the Supreme Court upheld the original ruling. 20 years for Ji-hyun, plus 30 years of electronic monitoring post-release. Park, who persistently framed herself as a secondary participant uninvolved in the actual killing, had her sentence reduced to 13 years. The verdict sparked public outrage. An 8-year-old's life, brutally taken, was treated as a game by these privileged killers. Despite committing murder and dismemberment, Ji-hyun's underage status and family connections shielded her from true accountability with just 2 decades in prison. Park, the manipulative architect, walked away with barely over a decade. Such leniency. How could it mend a shattered family's agony? How could it convince society that justice still exists? That concludes today's case. What are your thoughts? Feel free to discuss in the comments. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this case, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow Case Diaries. There are plenty more cases coming your way. Got thoughts on today's story? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. See you in the next one.